Okay, folks, as we continue on with the program tonight, segment 2, the town council candidates for the town of Frisco. I'll do a short read on the bios for everyone, reading from left to right as they're seated, and then we'll go right into the questions. Just a reminder, town council candidates, you have 60 seconds to respond to questions, not 90 like mayoral candidates did. And the same goes for your closing statements also. We want to try and get in as many questions as possible, not just the ones that have been prepared ahead of time, but there's quite a few questions from our audience, and we certainly want to try and get those in too. All right. Deborah Shaner has lived in Frisco 10 years. She's the owner, Shaner Life Safety, jazzercise teacher, former owner, Studio D. Previous participation on town boards include Frisco Planning Commission, 2012 to the present. Summit County 10-Mile Planning Commissioner, Frisco Business Advisory Committee member. Educational background, Colorado School of Mines. Rich Ihnken has lived in Frisco for 5 years. Ihnken?
Rick.
Rick?
Yep.
Did I say Rich?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's
Rick.
okay.
Has lived in Frisco for 5 years. Lieutenant, Safety and Medical Division, West Metro Fire Rescue, part-time ski patroller, Arapahoe Basin, former Flight for Life paramedic. And previous participation on town boards include Peak One Neighborhood HOA, former board member for other HOA boards, educational background, paramedic training, Rutgers University, AD, General Studies, Colorado Mountain College. Jessica Burley has lived in Frisco 5 years, Community Programs Manager, High Country Conservation Center, Adjunct of Sustainability Studies, Colorado Mountain College. Previous participation on town boards include Peak One Neighborhood HOA. Educational background includes MA, International Development, University of Denver, BA, International Studies and Anthropology, Emory University. Larry Sawyer has lived in Frisco 15 years, retired from General Mills. Previous participation on town boards, Frisco Town Council 2008 to the present, currently Mayor Pro Tem, former Frisco Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Educational background, BA, BS, History and Political Science, University of Minnesota, numerous business courses. Donna Skupien has lived in Frisco for 10 years, owner, creative director, Bridgewater Design. Previous participation on town boards, Frisco Planning Commission Chairman, 2007 to the present. Frisco First and Main Committee member, former Frisco Marketing Committee member, Summit County 10-Mile Planning Commissioner, volunteers at countless events. Educational background, BFA, Northern Illinois University, Master's Studies, NIU, and Oxford. Martin Allen lived in Frisco for 7 years. He's the owner of Table 31 Imports. Previous participation on town boards include former board member, Summit County Rescue Group, educational background, anthropology, and economics, Texas A&B. Matti Wade has lived in Frisco 14 years. He's the owner of 10 Mile Creek Kayaks, freestyle ski technical delegate and judge, FIS and USSA, ski and snowboard coach, Woodward Copper. Previous participation on town boards, volunteers at countless events. Educational background, retired U.S. ski team member, a licensed freestyle technical delegate, B licensed freestyle ski judge, USSA officials, judges freestyle committee board member, 2010-2014 Rocky Mountain Freestyle Rules Tech Committee Chair Board, representative 2005-2012, various coaching certifications from level 2 to 3, Big Mountain Free Skiing competitor, 1997-2010 lifelong continuing learner. We have 2 people absent tonight that are not here. Richard Nell, who has lived in Frisco 11 years, communications technician. His educational background is computer science, the College of New Jersey, and no previous participation on town boards. And Chris Sorensen, who's lived in Frisco for a year, senior manager, Breckenridge Resort, previous participation on town boards, none. And educational background, BA, International Business and Human Resource Management, APU. These are your town council candidates. We'll start right in with the questions. Don't forget you have 60 seconds. Deborah, we'll start with you. And we'll start with the obvious question. Why are you running for town council here in the town of Frisco?
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. It's great to have a nice turnout like this. Our town's at a critical point for defining or maybe redefining our character, and I want to be a part of that. I've had a really great learning and rewarding experience as a planning commissioner, and I just keep, during those meetings, finding myself wanting to be more of a part of the town. It's really satisfying. I just want to take it to another level. The town's brought quite a bit to my life and kind of found myself here, and I just want to give back. I also have a really unique set of skills. I'm a professional engineer, and I'm a planning commissioner now, and I think that's a really unique set of skills that can really help us as we get into our code development. You just need somebody like that on the seat.
Thank you, Deborah. Rick?
Thanks again for everyone that came out tonight. The reasons I want to be on town council is because I've had a lifelong interest in government and how it works. I think working on town council will be fun. I've learned a lot along the way in doing research towards tonight's event. Another reason I want to work on town council is because just 5 years ago, I got the opportunity to move into Frisco after being in the county since 1995, and I really feel super fortunate that I get to live here, and I want to give back to the community and preserve it not only for my son, but generations after him, and keep Frisco fun.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Jessica?
I'm running for town council specifically to ensure a sustainable and environmentally friendly future for our community. That future really includes the affordable housing that we heard a lot about tonight already, but also really creative resource conservation tactics, and also a smart and diverse economic development. I think it's really important to have that diversity as we continue to look towards our future so that we build a more resilient community. And with that, and we heard a lot from Dan tonight about the recreation and trails, but I'm also very interested in an enhanced and integrated trail system that really ties the community, especially some of the new parcels such as Whole Foods, together, but also provides that recreation so that we don't need to leave our own community to recreate.
Thank you, Jessica. And Larry, why are you running again?
Those of you who know me know that I'm a list maker. I like to get things done, and so there's 3 things on my list that I'd like to finish off. I'd like to finish off Main Street. I'd like to finish off, we bought the Barnyard building, I'd like to turn that into a park. And I started digging into the zoning code about a year and a half ago, and I'd like to get that zoning code sorted out. You can wish for all the things that you want, but if it doesn't happen in the zoning code, it really doesn't happen. And so when I think of the town, I think our zoning code is written in the 18th century, and we need to get it up to represent what's happening in the 21st century. And if we don't, Frisco, funky Frisco that I love so much, will change.
Thank you, Larry. Donna, why are you running?
I actually care about Frisco, and I really care about its history, its uniqueness, its residents, its livability, its safety, and its bottom line. Coming from running a design firm in Chicago for 25 years, I've dealt with budgets and proposals and scheduling and getting things done on budget and time. I want to make Frisco a more vibrant place to live and work, and we are at a critical juncture. We're almost built out. There's very little land available, and there's no place affordable for the workforce to live. There is code to be rewritten, so it's a really exciting time.
Thank you, Donna. Martin, why are you running?
Yeah, first I'd like to make a quick correction on the intro, the bio, just because this is going to go on YouTube and I want someone out there to yell at me. It's not Texas A&B University, it was Texas A&M, and I hope you guys will not hold that against me. Interestingly enough, there was a Texas A&B, and that's why I chuckled. It was a drive-through beer store in College Station that you could get your beer at. So, but I went there also. To really just cut to the chase about why I'm here tonight. I had a very crazy left-wing domineering mother. And she instilled in me that you should always be doing something in your community. Recently, well, after she instilled that into me, I got back at her by joining the U.S. Army, which didn't make her too happy. But since then, I've always tried to be doing something in my community. I recently stepped down from the board of the Summit County Rescue Group. I now have some extra time. And I'm very concerned about our town. I don't want to see our town go the way of a lot of mountain towns in Colorado that you all have seen, where more and more lights get turned off because their houses are being rented out. Or not even rented out, they're second homeowners that are just not here. And a lot of people work hard to make this community what it is. A lot of people who work hourly jobs, find it hard to live here, but they live here because they want to. And I want to find a way to make that easier for them.
Thank you, Martin. And Matti?
I moved to the Colorado Mountains 25 years ago with a backpack and $200. Wanting to become a professional skier. Since then, I've retired. I met my wife here in Frisco. We have a 2-year-old child. I want to bring that spectrum of everything from living from wherever I could, with ever who I could, to having 5 jobs, which I still have 4 jobs, by the way, and struggling, opening a business, and having a community where my child and everyone from a second homeowner to a passerby to a visitor who's here to kayak in 10 Mile Creek kayaks or 10 Mile Creek, or even go to Dillon Marina and Frisco Marina, and be a part of that growing, no matter where you're from or what you do. We're all here together. Second homeowners, lifetime, long-time residents, everyone. And I want to be a part of that plan.
Thank you, Matti. Second question, and Rick, we'll start with you on the second question. In order of importance, what do you consider the top 3 issues facing the town of Frisco?
The top 3 issues, as I see it, facing Frisco, you guys have already heard before tonight, but it is workforce housing. There's opportunities that are coming in the near future through partnerships. The town of Frisco can have a voice at the table with those. And again, in preparation for tonight, I've been speaking to folks at the county who are looking for input from Frisco. The sanitation district's going to be part of some of this new workforce housing. And as another component of the workforce housing, we need to just bring into that conversation as well some senior housing. Number 2 will be the zoning code update. I know right now the community planner for the town, who I've met with, is working on that right now. She's been tasked to complete that by the last quarter of this year. The goal there is to update it again and bring us back into the current times. Finally, the planning for Lake Hill, we're going to see repercussions of that here in town. We need to work on a traffic flow plan on that. And the things that ties all of these 3 things together is making the town sustainable.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
And Jessica?
I think for me, my number 1 priority is the sustainability of this community. I think in all the conversations that we have an opportunity to infuse sustainability and into that. And a lot of people say, well, what does that mean exactly? It means ensuring that we continue to have the character of Frisco as we move forward. So for me, as a member of Peak 1 neighborhood, I see the workforce housing as number 1. Number 2 would be diversifying our economic development. So we're not just relying on retail, we're not just relying on lodging. And then third is really, that integration of our community through our recreation opportunities.
Thank you, Jessica. Larry?
Again, workforce housing is clearly the question, but the question behind the question is where are you going to get the land to put that workforce housing that you're going to need? And so that's going to take a real serious conversation with the citizens of Frisco, because the only people who have that land are the citizens of Frisco already. Behind that question is the town is clearly at a crossroads, and the crossroads is in the form of real serious development money showing up at our doors for the first time. In the first 7 years that I was on the council, the biggest transaction that took place, besides the stuff that was done out at the 9.4 acres, was the $4 million sale that took place at Frisco Mall. We now are looking at development on the south side of Main Street which is up in the $30 million range.
10 seconds, Larry.
And in that $30 million, there are no words in our code that protects basically the facade of that side of the street. So I see the coding question as the biggest question that there is.
Thank you, Larry. And Donna?
I think, as everyone has said, is, with the workforce housing, and it's as important as attainable housing, but we're really up against the wall now on workforce housing. I'm proud to say that I was part of the designation of the Lake Hill project being on 10-mile planning, and was really excited about that, but now even that's been watered down from being what we were aspiring to be all rental to now they're looking to reconfigure it and be 50-50 or some market condos as well as rental. Number two, I think that we still need to look at increasing tourism without becoming a tourist trap, and we need to attract an eclectic mix of businesses and support the ones we have.
Okay, thanks, Donna. Martin?
I think it's promising to hear that the one common theme running through tonight is housing, affordable housing. Peak 1 was a great opportunity for a lot of people to get a foothold in a place that they never would have been able to. But I think other venues need to be explored. Even a Peak 1 unit when they first built them was still well out of the purchasable range of many of our citizens here. And I don't know what those answers are, but they need to be dug in. And to this point about all the development money that is starting to approach our town, that's the danger there. I think I personally have seen enough of large commercial development. I'd like to see something very focused, if we're going to use town land, very focused on the requirements to make sure that fits the needs first and foremost of the full-time residents of this town.
Thank you, Martin. Matti?
I like the term organic housing rather than workforce housing. That's housing that's attainable by anyone. Someone who comes here with a backpack of $200, like an apartment building. On the same accord, he brought up having housing affordable, that's truly affordable. $300,000 to $400,000 is not affordable for a lot of folks. Our senior living, I think, needs to be looked at. It's a big part of our community here. And then lastly, childcare. For me, it's a big issue. I think for a lot of people that even want to have children, childcare is a big issue here. We don't have enough of it. Some of the waits are 2 to 3 years in most of these areas. And that all has to looked at. Also, the town, just to throw this in there since I have time, it's 2 parts. It's downtown Frisco, and it's kind of an industrial. I think really mending them together so they work in harmony some way in the future is best.
Okay, thanks, Matti. And the next question, Jessica, you'll start with this one. No?
Deborah? I didn't answer.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deborah, I haven't gotten to you. My
It's okay, I'll
apologies.
speak up, don't worry. I won't let you skip me.
The top 3 issues.
My issues in order are zoning code, housing, and transportation connectivity. The reason I put the zoning code first is because if you have a smart code, you will have smart growth, and you will solve your housing problems. You write codes to encourage development that you want to see. We want to see affordable housing, we want to see senior housing, we want to see local housing. You write code to encourage that. Obviously, housing is an issue, and we can do things like look at our incentives. We can review income limits. It's not going to happen overnight, but there's a lot of things that we can do to do that, and it starts with the code. The third issue, the transportation and connectivity. It's been a long time since we've had a really good, not just traffic study, but connectivity and transportation study. Bike paths, foot traffic, cars, Summit Stage, all of that's going to flow together. I hear a lot of citizens talking about, oh, there's too many people speeding on my street. People worry about that. Well, let's do some things to our roads to make them look less highway-like. Let's encourage people to slow down on Belford when they're taking their kids to school. You can do that by
10 seconds.
spray painting some bike paths or foot paths. There's a lot of things we can do.
Thank you, Deborah. My apologies for
No worries.
missing.
I won't let you miss me, don't worry.
Appreciate you catching me. Jessica, on the third question. Many people agree maintaining a basic, solid infrastructure is the foundation for future reasonable growth. Do you see any future concerns in the areas of infrastructure in the town of Frisco?
I think as we continue to grow and encourage tourism, that eventually we'll see some parking challenges. I know just over near Zach's stop in the Rainbow Lakes Trailhead already that there's definitely some challenges that we face. And as Main Street grows and continues to be the heart of Frisco, that we're going to have those issues here as well. I think the marina, as it becomes a bigger attraction, is going to need some infrastructure improvements. And then we have a really good opportunity with the Highway 9 expansion to really look at what's going on Ophir Mountain near the hospital and across the way at the peninsula. So I think that it's a really good opportunity to engage and plan for those infrastructure changes.
Thank you, Jessica. Larry, same question.
The town has a rotating infrastructure program, which basically works very well. So the streets get recapped and things get fixed on an ongoing basis. So when we did Main Street, we sucked $1.25 million, $1.5 million out of that town budget to do Main Street so we didn't have to borrow money. The place where the town's infrastructure is getting beat up, in my mind, is the Forest Service lands that surround us. Because of the increased number of tourists that we've had coming through our community, if you check out the path up to the lake and those kinds of things, we really need to figure out how to get some resources to go into just the stuff that surrounds the town. The town has got a very solid revenue flow, and it's got a solid program for taking care of itself, but clearly the spaces around us are getting beat up.
Thank you, Larry. Donna, same question.
No, I think the town does a pretty good job with the basic services, and now that they're at the last phase of the drainage project on Main Street, hopefully they can focus their energy and funds to other projects. I know that when one of the main things is, for public safety and crossing over to the marina, as well as some of our streets that are dipping when the winter time comes and then they come back. I know when the town abandoned a project to fix the flooding on the bike path by Walter Byron Park, my husband and I worked with the town and we adopted that project and designed and funded it and executed it in the fall. So hopefully we're going to be helping that area of town for public safety. But I think for the most part they are doing a really, really good job.
Thank you, Donna. Martin, you have a structured question?
I think the past council and with the Main Street work has done a really excellent job over the past few years. Watching that transition is, that's a huge project, and I feel overall our town has been pretty well managed on our infrastructure. I would like to add to what was being said, though, about the surrounding areas around our town, Miners Creek. As a member of the rescue team, I'm tromping around in those areas all the time, and there's a lot going on out there that I think needs to be addressed and looked into with some depth.
Thank you, Martin. And Matti.
I think we have many years of learning about infrastructure between I-70 corridor and Highway 9. We have some major challenges that the town needs to start to look at, and planning for those, not 4 years out, not 10 years out, but 30 years out is where we really need to be. And there is property to be had for infrastructure. There are ways to do land swaps and create more abilities for more housing and more space in general. Parking is also another issue as far as infrastructure all the way around from the town, because there are a lot of people even parking here in Frisco just to go to Copper, because Copper has some parking stringents as well. And I do know, being a business owner here on Main Street, that's also something for everybody to bring more equity and more value to the town itself. So I think we really still need to look at what's going on out there and plan for the future 20 to 30 years away.
Thank you, Matti. Deborah, the infrastructure question for you.
Thanks. I think our infrastructure, for the most part, is pretty strong. And clearly, the council prior has invested a lot of money in Main Street and in our piping system. I expect that we'll need to entertain some water treatment upgrades in the near future. And back to my kind of transportation issue, I seem to keep coming back and talking about it a lot. Rec paths, bike paths, foot traffic, connecting the town. I think that infrastructure really needs to be looked at. To bring, we got the transit center maybe coming up for redevelopment. We've got Lake Hill. We've got some traffic issues perhaps at the Dam Road that constantly comes up as we see development applications come in. That really needs to be looked at, and we have the opportunity now to work with the entities that are developing that to really make that a little stronger, a little more solid, because the population is growing. We're having more density, so we need to accommodate that. We need to stay on top of it. We need to keep our budget stable so that we have the
10
money to
seconds.
spend when those opportunities present themselves. Thanks.
Thanks, Deborah. And finally, Rick?
Again, the town's infrastructure has been well maintained from previous councils. We're in the final phase of Main Street right now. So the drainage issues that were here before, which other businesses have been impacted by, is being addressed. The town owns very senior water rights within the state of Colorado, so we're looking good on a waterfront. So the infrastructure things that I see as becoming immediate issues right now is going to be that intersection at the Dam Road and Highway 9 with the Lake Hill parcel going in. That's an opportunity there with CDOT coming in and doing the Iron Spring project as phase 1 and phase 2 coming down from the hospital. We can partner with them and look for thoroughfares to go underneath the highway, perhaps at the bridge where the 10 mile goes through as a pedestrian pathway. In addition to those infrastructures projects, the peninsula is another, it's part of the infrastructure because it's what the town folks enjoy. So we have opportunities there to make a more family-oriented activities out there. We can connect the marina through its enterprise fund with the Tubing Hill area.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
And moving on to the next question, we may come back to the common questions again, but I want to try and get some of the audience questions in right now. Larry, I'm going to start with you on this one. I believe it's your turn to go. What can be done to help the west end of Main Street to be more prosperous than it's been?
In 8 years, the council has asked that question 9,499 times with no real answer. The west end of Main Street is definitely moving into a residential mode, except for the stuff that's around the Shaw Research or Shaw Medical Center. So when you take a look at it, there's only a chunk of land on the south side of the road that basically could be expanded, but it's in the shade of Mount Royal. We have proposed to dynamite the top 4,000 feet of Mount Royal so we could get sun on that end of the street. That one didn't go very far. The point is that as the street becomes more residential, it'll become more difficult to
10 seconds.
to let it grow as a mixed use. And so there is no there, and there is no real plan there. Taking the street lights that we've put on Main Street here and bringing it down to the end of the street is about the brightest idea that's been looked at for.
Thanks, Larry. Donna, same question. What can be done, if anything, to the west end of Main Street to become more prosperous?
Well, in a perfect world, move this building and the post office. But I think that because there is that disconnect, I think wayfinding and connectivity. And so a little bit of extra help in the more core of town to be able to let people know what's down there. And two, the businesses there to be a little bit more destination oriented. A good kayak shop, a good restaurant, a good whatever the businesses are going to be there. And there still is a little bit of property to be developed in front of the professional building. And if that could be an anchor for that part of town. But I think the thing with better signage, to go back to our Welcome to Frisco sign that we used to have before CDOT took it away for the buses, but to be able to get a little bit more excitement. But I think the connectivity between all the different sections to make it one cohesive community.
Thank you, Donna. Martin?
I think I've asked myself that question. I'm sure we all have, getting off the exit right there and driving down and watching businesses kind of really struggle there. What can be done? And I think to your point, there's just this big block here of a town hall and a post office that really, really mentally blocks locals and visitors alike from taking that extra step. I think maybe some milepost signage along Main Street that would point towards the businesses down in that area. I would be hesitant to put more lighting up. I'm a big proponent of less lighting, not more lighting, but it's a tough question, and I don't have the answer for that, but I'd like to look into it.
Thank you, Martin. Matti?
I was for a long time the only business at the end of that street, Tamarack Creek Kayaks. So I know that area very well. We have three entrances kind of in Frisco. We have the industrial end, we have our end over here at West Main, and then we have basically the East Main aspect. I think trying to find a frontal head of all three, because they all have all three unique things, and everyone brings something to the table. Main Street brings a very uniqueness downtown feature. Industrial area brings that Safeway and Whole Foods aspect, and then the marina is kind of kitty corner. So it's really like a triangle. Maybe emphasizing more on that triangle aspect and working off of that, I think is something that you can look at. There's definitely some improvement needs to be there, and improvement has happened, which is nice, but more
10
improvement
seconds.
for the next 20 to 30 years thought, not just 4.
Thank you, Matti. Deborah, what do you say?
I think the government and the town has kind of done a lot of what they can do with that. They've improved it, they made it look nice, and now we got to be patient and let business catch up with that. Tavern West is there now. It's the third restaurant that's in that building. This is the restaurant that's going to make it. We hope it is. You got to let business catch up. Sometimes that takes a long time, especially in the frontier, if you will, that West Main is. I do think that there are things we could do with wayfinding, the connectivity. I like the idea of a gateway, perhaps, or an entrance to Main Street there. We really could advertise our Main Street a little bit better from that end. And again, I go back to the codes. We keep writing code. As we revise this code, we write code that encourages the type of development we want there, because there is development potential.
Thank you, Deborah. Rick?
So the way to bring more traffic to the west end of Main Street, the way, my understanding is the great way to get people down there is through increasing the bike paths. One of the great staff members of town suggested taking a bike path from the west end of Main over to the base camp area just the other day. That's a good way to create the triangle effect, to get folks to stay in town and do a great circle. Summit Boulevard is what it is. It is a vital part of this community, but some folks might want an alternative pathway. That's another way to get people to the west end of town. I do think we do need to light it. The town has been very sensitive towards lowering their light pollution, and I think we can continue the lights down Main Street. Wayfinding is also the way forward with some great signage. As folks come to use the infrastructure of bike trails, we're going to get them down on the west end of town for parking. Let's keep them down there and get them on the bike path so they can recreate around town after they're done enjoying their day on their bikes. And most importantly, after we're done riding the trails.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
And finally, Jessica, the West Main Street question.
Thank you. I think all of these are really good ideas, but a lot of the solutions have been very business oriented. But we also have an opportunity to provide potentially a community center or encourage nonprofits that don't actually need the foot traffic to be down on that end. So, as we start to look at what type of development, does it make sense to put retail down there? Are there ways that we can encourage organizations that serve a community purpose or community need and get them down there because they don't actually need people to come in their doors? So, potentially looking at that type of co-development or just ways to incent nonprofits and community organizations to be down there.
Thank you, Jessica. Moving on to the next question. And this one, Donna, you'll start with. As a member of the council, what other civic endeavors do you or have you participated in, and how will those assist you as a council member?
Well, having my own design firm, I've worked with tons of personalities and egos and budgets and schedules. Being involved with 10 Mile Planning as well as Frisco Planning, I've had the opportunity, especially with Frisco, to see what works well with the town and where they could use a little bit of help. But I think that my experience working the last few years since I've moved here has prepared me for the stress, the homework, and the reward and accomplishment of things that come up in front of council.
Thank you, Donna. And Martin, same question, as a member of the council, what other civic endeavors do you or have you participated in, and how will those assist you as a council member?
Well, I'd say, primarily, as far as civic endeavors, it would be my time with the rescue team and serving on the board, and also being their primary fundraising officer. It has given me a lot of outreach across the community, across the county, with government agencies, with a lot of our businesses, with the sheriff's department, obviously. And I feel that has given me a very good rounded education on what is required to kind of move things along in this county, not just on the town level, but in the county. And
Thanks,
so
Martin.
that would be it.
Matty?
I think the diversity of sitting on several boards with USSA, coaching everything from a young child, 5 years old, all the way up to a World Cupper, and being an athlete myself, seeing 70 to 80 different mountain ski towns all over the world, and kind of where they came from and what their infrastructure is and what's working there. Some of these towns are 1,000 years old. That's kind of what we need to start to think about. Way down the line. What's going to be here for my child and my children, my children's children. I think I bring a lot of that diversity to the table and understanding all those aspects. And I can work off of that, and everyone can hopefully prosper from it.
Thank you, Matty. Deborah, same question.
Couple things. I am a 10-mile planning commissioner and currently a Frisco planning commissioner. I like to come here on Tuesday nights instead of Thursday nights. So. I also serve on the Colorado Mountain College Advisory Board for their fire science and EMT program and give a scholarship to them every year. I'm a fire protection engineer and I have a little engineering business here. So it sounds like a one-trick pony. I do a lot of code work. I'm involved with the National Fire Protection Association. I'm a member of their Wildland Urban Interface Code Committee. And what that does is it teaches me how to write code. And that is really important. And I think that just my experience with Planning Commission and those skills are just going to serve me well here.
Thank you, Deborah. And Rick?
So my experience is doing civic duty. My full-time job is I'm a first-level manager in a sizable metropolitan fire district. In that capacity, I've had opportunities to work with people who don't agree with me, and we use those opportunities to learn from each other and work towards that common goal. So I have experiences with working with folks who can come to the table with completely different agendas, but make compromises and come to have that common goal at the end and get the job done. So the experience that I've had with working with others and bringing groups together towards making decisions on challenging projects is what I'm going to bring to this position in the town council.
Thank you, Rick. Jessica?
My first experience working in government was as a chief of staff in the Oregon State Legislature. I had the opportunity to work for a state rep who represented one community, basically. And so we worked very closely with the town council and the town staff there to ensure that the needs of that particular community were being met at the state level. I currently sit on the Colorado Association for Recycling Board. I'm the vice president of that association. And in that capacity, we work at the state level to advance waste diversion in the state. But my perspective, from coming from a mountain rural community, has really helped elevate our needs as a rural community at the state level. And I also have served on several task forces. The most recent was a climate project, which also gave me the experience of working with a variety of people and really being able to collaborate and walk away at the end of the day with a plan that everyone can really agree on.
Thank you, Jessica. And finally, Larry.
I spent 40 years in the public-private intersection. I moved to Frisco to become a ski instructor, which I did. I have my 15-year pin here at Copper. Going forward, I like this town and I like doing things for it. But my interest in working anything else beyond that, I'm 73, I have limits. So this is what I do.
All right, thank you, Larry. And moving on to the next question. I think it's probably going to be our last question before closing statements. What, and we'll start with Martin on this one. Martin, what role do you think the town of Frisco has to play in supporting development of workforce housing, and what short-term solutions are you exploring or have explored?
Well, again, the recurring theme of housing keeps coming up, and affordable housing, deed-restricted housing is of course top on the list of something that certainly our middle class and upper middle class residents could kind of afford and approach. But we need something more along the lines of something that maybe could be rented at an affordable price. And that's something I would like to see explored. We can put, I'm assuming there is some pressure we could put on some of the big corporate entities here that have just come into town, maybe for their own workforce. But at the end of the day, in order to make sure that this town continues to be have a vibrant culture of unique people from all walks of life, we've got to really dig into this issue and deep.
Thank you, Martin. Matti?
I think there's an interesting lot that CDOT owns that not sure what they're going to do with it behind Pepino's down here on Main Street. That could be some property that we could get into. Once again, I bring in the aspect of organic housing along the lines of where you're coming from, renting an apartment building. San Francisco, not that we're like San Francisco or any big town, even Denver has to have some apartment buildings. I love the fact that we have some affordable housing, but when you build 12 units and there's one affordable one in it and then there's 10 others that are $700,000, it's not really helping the organic aspect of really housing here and having people stay. I focused on coming with $200 and fought my way for the last 25 years to have a business and a family. I want the next generation and my child not to have to fight that hard. And the fight is definitely getting harder. And whatever we can do to change that. And it might start off with that CDOT lot.
Thank you, Matti. Deborah?
Yeah, there's a lot of negative comments, I think, that when people talk about we've got to fix affordable housing, let's keep in mind that we made a big dent in that problem with Peak 1. That was a huge accomplishment. And I think we need to keep it rolling. It's not going to happen overnight. I think it's important to educate people and reduce the bad stigma of that, and maybe people will welcome it in their neighborhood. The development incentives is key. That is a good way to do it. You do it one unit at a time, and it works. Maybe we need to make it work a little bit more. We need to look at our code and see if we can't write more incentives in there. We have the opportunity to review income limits, certainly, as we're diversifying our town, so income limits need to be re-reviewed. And yeah, the trailer park lot is going to be a huge opportunity for us. We need to keep our budget strong so we can move on that when it comes. And if it's our lot, we have a lot of say in how it happens. And finally, I think it's really important that we work well with the county on the Lake Hill development. We can have a stake in that.
Thank you, Deborah. Rick?
Roman, could you repeat the question so I stay on point?
Yeah, the question is, what role do you think the town of Frisco has to play in supporting development of workforce housing, and what short-term solutions are you exploring or have you explored?
Okay. The workforce housing or affordable housing options that I've explored, I feel like I've spent several days here at Town Council in the last few weeks trying to get caught up on a lot of different things. There's a Galena Street project right now that the town owns the land. They are in a position to fund that project 100% and move forward. That would be a workforce housing, whether it be for town employees or for county employees. That'll be yet to be determined. Other opportunities, we've just received 10 deed-restricted units through public-private partnerships that have taken place, just recently built here in the town. In addition to those, the CDOT lot, which folks have also referenced, is the town is looking at having first right of refusal on that, and they expect to get that. And going forward with that would be public-private partnerships that would go to create attainable housing in there. And you can't overlook or disregard Lake Hill. It's going to be anywhere from 200 to 400 units. The county just bought the land, and they're going to development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Jessica?
You know, I think that we have some pretty good opportunities right now, particularly with Lake Hill. I think it's important that we get engaged early. We are part of the process. We maintain that partnership with the county and really look towards not just the actual housing development, but everything that goes along with it. And we've heard a lot about potential traffic issues and whatnot around the dam road. The Galena Street project is also very interesting. Frankly, I don't know a ton about it at this point, but I've also talked to folks about the CDOT lot as well, and so that'll be a very unique opportunity, although small, but something that we would be able to move on pretty quickly. So I think that there's a lot out there right now that we're really close on, and hopefully Peak One serves as a good model as we do move forward.
Thank you, Jessica. And Larry, same question.
There's three parts to it. The first part is there's really no land. The Lake Hill project will bring in maybe 280 units. So we need to tweak our codes so we can make more land available, and that, to me, that's like division of the lot. The second part of it is that the town or the county's construction costs are $502 a square foot. We need to figure how to get that down to somewhere around $200 a square foot. Tom Conley has done some really wonderful work on that, and so I've been playing with that. The third is the town code itself is not written to encourage attainable housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, whatever you want to call it. We have accessory units in our code, and we also have cabin housing in our codes, but there's no real way to trigger them. So
10 seconds.
the last part is we really need to sit down and work our way through that code so we can get things to actually happen.
Thank you, Larry. Donna?
I think that the town needs to even engage Copper to be part of the bigger picture with the Lake Hill project, to get their support and to really focus in on that area. However, short term, and in the past I've emailed council members and have talked at planning about doing a co-venture with, and even some developers in town, to do a co-venture on the CDOT lot to make it for CDOT employees, town employees, and county employees, and to get rid of the trailers, and they have been as they've been becoming uninhabitable. Also, too, the town needs to look to do a land assessment of what they own, what historic buildings they want to keep, what do they want to build around those historic buildings, and to be able to look at even the community center on 4th that really isn't used, or on 3rd, which is really not used that much. That's a sweet little space that short-term workforce or employee housing could be there. But we have to make smart decisions now.
Thank you, Donna. And that brings us down to the end of the questions. We're now going to the closing statements. And we're going to start the closing statements with Matthew Wade. Matti, you have 60 seconds.
I think it's awesome, the people that are up here at this board with me, and the skill sets that everyone has. I hope that the town gets involved and understands all of our different skill sets. We are at a crossroads, people. As a government, as a country, and as a town, we have more control with what we can do in our town. And I am very confident sitting here with all of you, knowing that we're definitely going to take care of that moving forward. And it's all of you decision to decide the right person. I think all of us have great options. I don't think anyone's better than the other. We're all on par. But there's definitely a crossroads here that we need to look at and move forward with.
Thank you, Matti. Deborah, your closing statement?
Thank you all again for coming. I've been thinking about running for council for 4 years, and unfortunately I waited until it was the popular thing to do. But I'm qualified to do this. I've been on planning commission, I did my time there, and I learned a lot. I'm a professional engineer, I know codes, I know how to solve some of our problems, and I think I'm the right person to fuse the old and new. There's a lot of history in this town, and I have had a great time talking with some of the old timers here about the stories and how they got here and all the old lots and how they got developed. I can't wait to fuse that with the new. I mean, it's time to respect the history, respect our character, make some decisions, bring in some new ideas. We're bringing in new people with Peak One. Let's bring it all together. I'm ready to work for you. I'll work really hard for you.
Thank you, Deborah. Rick, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to everyone tonight. I believe that I bring a unique motivation in that I think this is going to be fun. My unique interest in seeing how government works and being involved in it is something I've had my whole life. I believe I bring a unique skill set coming from my emergency service career that I have the capabilities of bringing people together, using information provided by the staff and by members who are trying to get initiatives put through. I will leave my biases at home and just go with information provided. And in doing so, the goal of all of this will be to keep Frisco a town and a place that we want to stay in and our kids can grow up in.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Jessica?
Thank you all for coming out tonight and listening to what we have to say. It's really exciting to hear that some of the top issues for the town are something that we're all talking about. I think I bring a unique perspective in that I have a nonprofit background. Nonprofits are there to serve the community. And so I think that that's really important that Frisco utilizes those partnerships and those opportunities so that it's not all reliant on government or it's not all reliant on business, but that we have a very diverse community that we can really fall back on. And also the fact that affordable and attainable housing is a really important issue, and the fact that, and thank you, Town of Frisco, but I have benefited from that, and so I think I bring that Peak One perspective to the table and can really talk to the issues about affordable housing as well.
Thank you, Jessica. Larry?
I think my skill set is I get things done. I didn't seek the spot on the town council. I was recruited by Mayor Pelham because he heard I get things done. So in my period here, we've fixed Peak One. We've fixed the Whole Foods thing. We resolved a real tension point in the town, which was the two, what are they called? Two ballot questions we had back to back, fighting over what we were going to do on the 9.4 acres and fighting over what we were going to do out at the PRA. We had the Peak One question was some people wanted to put a dog park on it, some people wanted to put housing on it, some people wanted just to leave it alone. So in the period that Gary and I have been working together, we've got a long list of accomplishments, and I have a few things that I need to get done before I fall off this stage. So if you re-elect me, I promise to finish up my list.
Thank you, Larry. Donna?
Well, I ran for council 2 years ago and lost by a slim margin to Dan Kibbe, but and I was disappointed but not discouraged. So I'm trying it again, and I want to thank everyone who voted for me that 2 years ago, and hopefully they'll consider me again. I embrace the Town of Frisco master plan, and I would am encouraged to try and implement it. I'm impressed with Frisco's sense of community, and hopefully that if I'm elected, I can help contribute to that also. And I would probably focus and champion first step ownership, and that would be probably rental apartments to get more the future of Frisco here, and to work with the businesses we have and make it better than ever.
Thank you, Donna. And last but certainly not least, Martin.
Thank you, Roman. I'd like to piggyback on what Matti said, that I'm sitting here tonight, and there is a vast amount of experience here at this table. And halfway through, I almost got up and just went ahead and sat over there on your side, because I'm not sure I need to be here because you guys are all so solid. But I stayed, and I've had the opportunity as a licensed importer in the United States and 5 states of alcohol and wine, and working with a lot of different government entities here and over in Argentina and Chile and Spain. And I've seen really bad local governments, and I've seen really good local governance. And I think over the past few years here in Frisco, we've had some really good local governance. We now have 3 spots open on the town council, and I would like to have a chance to get on there and see if I can add to keeping that ship steady for the challenges ahead. And my final statement is simply, if you are a full-time, year-round citizen of this town, if you're an employee of this town, you are my priority. And that's all.
Thank you, Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, your Frisco Town Council candidate.